Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to define the audio generation function. And what it's going to do is that it's going to now take the edited scripts from the AI agent and send that to the audio for it to generate the audio. We will need to import uh, python.env, which is what would be used to, call the API key that we have defined in our env file. And after that, we need to also import OS. We will need to import OpenAI because we are using the OpenAI TTS. Okay, so these are the tools that we'll need to create the audio generation function. Now, before we start, we have to define our OpenAI key. We can say open AI key, and then we would call our OpenAI key here. Okay, so after defining the API key, the next thing I want to do is to define the function. So we can call the function generates sorry generate podcast audio. uh, Audio. And in this generate podcast audio, we are going to be sending or passing three parameters. The first one would be the script text that we get from the AI agents. The second one would be the module for the text to speech generation. And the third one would be the voice that we would choose, because I think uh OpenAI has so many voices that you can choose from, but this is the one I actually like. So this is the one I would be so that's the one I would be using in the project. So we first of all say script text. Then for the voice I would use is Coral. Coral just sounds nice. It sounds like podcast audio tone. Then for the model, we want to use the TTS1 model that you can find in OpenAI text to speech. And in this model, what we want to do is we want to take the script text, and then we want to use the script text, the voice, and the model to generate the audio. So we can say response equals to, we are going to use OpenAI with audio speech dot create, and in this we would pass the scripts. So sorry, we'll start with model. So we say model equals to the model that we define here. Next thing would be the voice that we define here. The next thing would be the inputs. So the inputs would be the script text, that we also define here. So once we have defined this, the next thing we want to do is to return the audio. So we add that in the return statement. So we say return dot response dot contents, and this should return the audio content. Now for you to test this, I will be writing a very short script here for us to test this. So I can say audio equals to, would call the function, and in the function I can say welcome to our podcast audio, or welcome to our podcast episode. And this just, a text, is a script text in this function. This is just the text that we'll be using to test the audio generation function. And after this, we will say it's open podcast.mp3, and this, and then we'll write this and we'll pass the audio. So what this does is that after we have called the function and we pass it a text, so the output or the audio would be saved in this audio variable. And then we want to now create this sorry, we want to now add the audio that has been generated in our project directory, and the name should be podcast audio. I'm sorry, I did not define this well. Podcast audio, yeah. So the name should now be podcast audio dot mp3, and so it should just save it there. So you should open up the file and save it there. So when we run this, so we can just do Python 3 utilities.py, and this shows that it has created the audio. So we can click on the audio, and once we click here, I do hope that you can actually hear it. Let me just increase my volume. Welcome to our podcast episode. And then you can now preview it, and you can verify that you define the audio generation tool very, very well. So now that we have confirmed that we can do this, I can just comment that out or delete it. This is not really useful for our main project. This was just what we use to run a test. So we can go back to our agents where we define the agent, and I also want to write a script here to test that I can send the edited script from the agents to the audio generation. So this would be as a function. Oh, and then remember that in this AI agent, so we are doing some sort of human in the loop approval. So human in the loop approval is where the AI agent will give a response and wait for the human or the human agents, but like yeah, would wait for the human to look at the outputs and give it a green light to continue the process. So before we do that, we say from utils want to import we want to import this function here, and this is the script that would let us add the podcast topic, and then it will let us add a podcast topic, and it's going to display the podcast topic, and then it's going to kick off or run the crew AI agents, and it's going to display the edited podcast script for us to see, and then it's going to now take the edited podcast script, add it to a variable, and it's going to now ask for our approval. So this is a human in the loop process, and this would be done from the Streamlit UI, but since we've not yet done that yet, I just want to show you how the interaction between the AI agents and the audio generation to function would go. So after it asks for approval, then it goes ahead and it generates the audio, and after it has generated the audio, it will save the audio file in our project directory for us to take a look at. So I can just do Python 3 agents.py, and it's going to ask us for a topic. So the topic I can give it is how to improve finances in 2025. And the crew AI agent would start. And you can see that it says here that the crew AI agent has started. And then the podcast research starts, and given the task that we gave it, so it's going to make a research based on the topic that we just entered. And then you can see the thoughts process and the tools that each of the agents used. So in this case, it says I thought to perform a web search to find the most recent and relevant information about improving finances in 2025. and it includes some things, and then it tells us that this is the tool that it's used, and this is the query that it gave, query that it's used for the tool search, and these are the results that it got from the tool. It got a bunch of results, but these are the ones that we can just preview. Then it said using this website, the informations, the contents I got from the search tool, it's then created the research here, and after that it's, it clicks on completed, as that task has been completed, and it passes it to the podcast script writer. So now the podcast script writer writes, a podcast script based on the research summary, and you see that it's writes the podcast scripts, and then once it's done, it gives that script to the editor, and the editor is like, hey, I'm meant to review and edit this podcast scripts, and then it does that, and then you can see the final outputs there, and it also displays it for us to see. Then it asks me, do I want to approve this, and I want to approve it, so I just click on approve. That's I will enter Y. Okay, and then we see that it has generated the scripts. It asks for our approval, and with that, um it's generated the audio. So sometimes you may face maximum input for the voice sorry, for OpenAI TTS user and generate an audio. And when you do that, you can either decide to chunk your text, that's to chunk this, or restart your agent. So I had to restart my agent to generate another script for this to work. That's why you would see that the script is a bit different from earlier. So yeah, it has already generated the script, and I can just look for the audio. So the audio is like 3 minutes 40 seconds. Hello, and welcome back to Future Finance Focus, the podcast where we equip you with the tools and insights to navigate your financial future with confidence and clarity. I'm your host. And then you see that it's sent the scripts from the agents to the audio generation tool. So now that we see that this works and we see how awesome this is, let us build out the Streamlit UI and wrap up the project.